BBOR, Black Box Online Radio, coming to you from West Virginia. Well, today we are reaching the finale of our discussions on Tiger King, Joe Exotic, and the Netflix docuseries that has been released of that name. I mean, this is not a traditional film review. We don't really do those on the channel. We're just having a bit of a discussion about Joe Exotic and some of the activities surrounding his zoo in Oklahoma. And we've done two parts already, and if you haven't heard those, I highly recommend that you check them out. But if you're just jumping right in, go ahead, keep listening, because we're just going to be talking about Joe Exotic and some of the things that are tied into this series, Tiger King. I would say in the early parts, we were really just asking the question, is there a type of cult leader mentality that is going on with the big cat zoos in America? Because not only do you see Joe Exotic, you also see someone like Dr. Bhagavan Antle featured in the series, and Joe Exotic's arch rival, Carole Baskin, because she runs Big Cat Rescue, right? And people are just like, is there a type of cult leader mentality that people are having over these individuals, particularly the workers with Joe Exotic's GW Zoo in Oklahoma and Dr. Bhagavan Antle's zoo in Myrtle Beach? Because it's such an all-encompassing job that just takes over someone's life completely. What I would say about that is that from looking at the final 3 episodes of Tiger King, I was just watching them, and I would think that I'd say the heart and soul of this is outrageousness. It's using outrageousness to attract people. And I would have to say in the past, I really found Joe Exotic to be a very humorous character. I mentioned that I found him, well, because of John Oliver, and they even played that little segment when John Oliver was talking about Joe Exotic running for president. Then I saw some of his other YouTube videos. And I was like, all right, this guy's a humorous character. But as you can see how this goes onward, you really see that Joe Exotic turns into someone who is not super likable. And this method of using outrageousness to draw people into yourself, well, that takes its toll on the people around him, because after the suicide of one of Joe Exotic's husbands, plural, they have this funeral, and Joe Exotic is giving the eulogy, and he sings a song, and you could just see that even after somebody died, he was clearly bothered by it. Even as he is mourning somebody, you can see that it has affected him. But at the same time, he's still using it as an opportunity to make it all about himself. And, I mean, by the end of the series, you really just have to say, no matter what you think about some of the illegal activities going on with Joe Exotic and his zoo, and any of the ethical questions in that area, you can just see that he's not such a likable guy. And I think that perhaps, he might fall into the anti-hero category. I do not think he's a complete villain. Absolutely not. I just said, the appreciation for some of the humor associated with Joe Exotic has gone downhill. But that hasn't stopped a wave of memes that have been going all over Facebook. And I thought it was really rather odd that people were sharing, I should say. They were sharing lots of memes on Facebook talking about Tiger King, talking about Joe Exotic, Donald Trump dressed up with the blonde mullet, calling him Trump Exotic, Don Exotic. And then you have Carole Baskin memes. A month ago, could you imagine there was a thing such as a Carole Baskin meme? I mean, I'm very, very much surprised. But what I don't really see is people discussing the contents of the docuseries Tiger King and some of the activities around Joe Exotic that much. And they're not asking the questions, should he or should he not have been convicted of some of the crimes that were put forward? As well as, do people actually believe that he was involved with a murder-for-hire plot to have Carole Baskin murdered? And then you see something like Joe Exotic could have possibly put on a Thanksgiving dinner for more than 100 people, so he could have raised $3,000 to have Carole Baskin murdered. I mean, talk about outrageousness, and talk about a story that just has countless twists and turns. But, I mean, we aren't really sure 100% about how the legal proceedings could have played out if they had gone in other directions. But they do have a lot of audio recordings, even though they are cut up in very small segments, when it seems like Joe Exotic was very much involved with illegal activities. Convicted, though, on 19 different counts, and will spend possibly decades in prison. But let's see. And to help us out with our discussions here, we're going over to TheVerge.com with an article written by Joshua Rivera. Tiger King is a show about how the internet eats us all. Once again, by Joshua Rivera. Tiger King is one of the strongest contenders for the most watchable TV show of the year, and it's a problem. Well, this ought to be good. A documentary miniseries comprising 7 quick episodes, each under an hour. You could watch the whole thing in a weekend. Given the subject, you'll probably finish even faster. I actually did this in 3 segments. Like, I spent 2 days watching, 2 episodes each, and then last night I watched 3 episodes, but we had a big gap in between because we really have some other topics to go through, but I was really wanting to stay fresh with the material. I could say, though, that you could watch this in a weekend, absolutely. Could you watch it in one day? I wouldn't really want to watch a series like this in one day. I would like to put it on over at least 2 or 3 days or something. The Netflix series follows a man, both larger than life and smothered by it. Joe Exotic, the one-time owner of a successful-seeming private zoo with over 200 tigers and other big cats. Everyone refers to him as the Tiger King, but even as you see in the docuseries, he also has countless other animals, chimpanzees, as well as our fallen alligators and crocodile. He's a man who ran for the presidency of the United States and then the governor of Oklahoma, then sometime after may have tried to hire someone to kill his nemesis, a woman dedicated to shutting his zoo down. It's incredibly compelling and terribly so. Tiger King is almost wholly dedicated to spectacle, with little interest in any sense of truth. And the truth is about as gutting as Tiger King is sensational. And I think this person here, Joshua Rivera, once again writing for TheVerge.com, was really sharing a lot of what we kind of laid out in the beginning, saying that the outrageousness has taken over. Well, he uses the word spectacle and sensational. Those words, it's like that's what's taken over, the sensational aspects of this, the spectacle that's putting on. And I do give him some credit for that statement right there. I know you just want to be like, oh, you're just agreeing with everything the guy says. Well, not exactly, but a big point is, with this one here, is that people aren't so much focused on the truth as they are focused on how outrageous is Joe Exotic. I mean, the guy, a gay man who falls in love with straight men. I mean, like, you start to think about the outrage, or not the outrage, but like the outrageousness, sensational spectacle, as opposed to what is this guy actually doing? As the eponymous Tiger King, Joe Exotic is magnetic. A ball-capped, mulleted man who swaggers with a knee brace and a drawl, wearing some combination of fringe vests, chaps, and bedazzled shirts at all times. You've never seen anyone like him on television. Born Joe Schreibvogel, the man's eccentricities are accompanied by a tragic backstory. And we mentioned that in part 1 about, of course, driving off a bridge, and he walks with the knee braces and a crutch because of some injuries that he sustained following that. But during the final episodes of Tiger King, one of the things that I really noticed is they bring back Dr. Bhagavan Antle, once again the director of a zoo in Myrtle Beach, who is giving lots of commentary on the situation. And I really found that he was saying that they tried to drum up animal rights charges against Joe Exotic because the murder for hire case was too flimsy. It was too weak. So they needed to find other ways to pursue legal action against Joe Exotic. In short, that they wanted him taken out. Now, Dr. Bhagavan Antle is also somebody who runs a big cat zoo, who works with big cats. And you just can see, though, the value that someone has in the situation. They have skin in the game. They have a horse in the race, except we're dealing with big cats. Somebody who has an agenda. And when I was watching the episodes of Tiger King, I was just like, of course this guy is taking Joe Exotic's side. What, is he going to take the big cat rescue side? Is he going to take the side of PETA? Is he going to take the side of anybody that would be against his agenda? So the thing that I began to notice is that there almost is this type of partisan politics that is going on in that particular aspect. And I don't necessarily think that it is completely the same as ordinary partisan politics, but it's its own variant of it, where they have somebody like Dr. Bhagavan Antle, who is just taking Joe Exotic's side because he benefits from it. As Tiger King goes on, its greatest strength, the litany of unbelievable stories it has to share, becomes its most concerning weakness, as the filmmakers don't really seem interested in telling a story about its subjects, as they are in milking them dry. There's little point to Tiger King beyond its sensational thrills and credulously presenting everyone it puts in front of a camera. The show does not, for example, present any context of how seriously you should take the allegation that Carole Baskin killed her husband, so that now this allegation is fodder for viral tweets, grist, and for the content mill that happens to have real-world fallout. New leads in the case of Baskin's missing ex are being sought out. Well, this is mostly a true crime channel on YouTube. And I have to tell you, even if you forget Black Box Online Radio, there are countless people on the internet that are discussing true crime cases. I mean, you can hop on any forum and find any online community. You're going to find people discussing true crime cases. What this Netflix docuseries did is they raised some awareness about a missing persons case. And of course, Carole Baskin's ex-husband has now been declared deceased. But the thing is, people are going to talk about stuff. This is how humanity functions. People put content out, and people discuss it. They talk about Carole Baskin's missing ex-husband, who has now been presumed dead. People are talking about it. And did you see by chance that O.J. Simpson weighed in on the fact that he thinks Carole Baskin murdered her ex-husband? And when I was reading that stuff, TMZ.com, I was just like, oh no. I mean, like, all I could really say is, Juice, shut up, more or less. That's the only thing that really came to mind. But in all reality, I mean, a lot of people have weighed in on this, and a lot of people have been like, just countless people are being tied into this. And some people are even speculating that Odell Beckham Jr., the wide receiver, is going to become the next Tiger King. He's already halfway to Joe Exotic. Maybe he'll go 100%. But to jump back to our article here, we have, it can be seen in the way of the popularity of My Favorite Murder encourages listeners to adopt a vindictive view of the role of law enforcement. Oh, absolutely not. I disagree with that statement completely. I can't really say that anything in Tiger King would have ever encouraged this. I mean, I disagree with that. Or in the entire cottage industry spun out of Serial's first season, which birthed an entertainment empire around the guilt or innocence of Adnan Syed. It's a phenomenon fueled by our need to seek resolution where there often is none to be found. But at the same time, though, I mean, to my friend here who has written this article, that's looking at the glass half empty. Another way that you can look at this is a true story. It's an outrageous true story. And yes, it has a bunch of shiny things that attract your attention. And I was only referring to Joe Exotic's clothing, nothing else. It has a lot of outrageous things that are going on to attract people's attention, but the fact of the matter is, these are real people, and sometimes we deal with the news that goes in different directions, that goes in ways that people have not anticipated. And furthermore, sometimes human curiosity just wants to know more. Like, human curiosity just wants to push us to learn more about something. And what is this guy who's writing this article for TheVerge.com think? Do we ever stop learning? I mean, I know what he's trying to say. I think what he wants to say is that people should look at the whole story, and also when they watch a docuseries, even if it's 7 episodes, they should also read up on some other things to see, is there another side of the story that's being left out? But I do say, though, Carole Baskin does get a chance to give the opposition. You have Joe Exotic and Carole Baskin both featured in Tiger King. So, the tyranny of the internet bleeds into the real world. If there's enough content, eventually that content becomes real life. We are consumed by the Tiger King. And that concludes the article by Joshua Rivera from TheVerge.com. What I would say, though, about that is, yes, absolutely. People start to believe things if they read them frequently. And then the true parts of the narrative, the things that actually happened in human history, can be lost. They can be overlooked. And then they can be taken apart and just cut up in small pieces, and the filmmakers will only put out the things that they think are going to pull people in, and they're going to play off behavioral psychology and pull in the human attention span. But with this particular case, what I would say is that, first and foremost, this is a real story. I mean, and they're dealing with some real incidents in true crime, Joe Exotic's activities. And even if Joe Exotic wants to raise the questions about Carole Baskin's ex-husband, I mean, there's a difference between asking a question and blatantly condemning someone. There is a difference between asking a question and blatantly condemning someone. But yes, overall, I really found that the docuseries Tiger King was very compelling. I would just say that I really felt sorry for a lot of the people that were working with Joe Exotic, and a lot of people really devoting their lives to, his projects, and not only the zoo, but also running for president and governor of Oklahoma. And it really seemed like he was just using people to enhance his own popularity. That whole thing about devaluing someone's humanity and just using them as extensions of his own, extensions to fuel his own power, extensions of himself, and not really recognizing the individual nature of humanity. But I really have to tell you, though, I knew he ran for president. I've said that multiple times. I did not know about the governor's campaign in Oklahoma prior to hearing about it from Tiger King. Here in West Virginia, I guess the news didn't travel that far, that Joseph Maldonado Passage, a.k.a. Joe Exotic, was running for governor in Oklahoma, and it seems like he got 19% of the vote. I'm only saying that because I saw a little split second on the television screen when I was watching this on Netflix. And that's rather impressive, that a candidate like Joe Exotic would even get 19% of the vote in anything, let alone being governor of Oklahoma. But, he's probably one of those guys who was running for the attention of it, and perhaps even to raise awareness about certain things, maybe what he has to say about big cats and such. But I remember one of the people that was working on that one of the workers at Joe Exotic Zoo, I forget her name, the woman who lost her arm in the tiger accident, simply saying that all of the people here claim that they are on the side of the animals. And how did this help the animals? It didn't. This did not help the animals, the war between Joe Exotic and Carole Baskin. And if we had to sort of have any kind of culmination, I think that that's what we would have to say with Tiger King. The politics of this big cat tiger world that we were talking about overshadowed the message that these people were trying to do, the message that people were trying to accomplish. And what does that mean? Does that mean that just power corrupts and running a big cat zoo is another form of power? I would say that the thesis of Tiger King would be, yes, that it is. That's what happens. That's what happens, though, when people are kind of put off in these little communities when they have the ability to thrive. And you really notice that, though, in certain elements of media. Some people can be pushed into their own type of universe where they have lots of abilities. Like Joe Exotic can host a TV show, he can run a pizza parlor, and he can have the big cat zoo and the fundraisers and run for governor of Oklahoma. He can do all of these things within his own network. So that's why he is acting like the Tiger King. Maybe we shouldn't have said universe. We should have said kingdom. That would have been so much better. He's not a god. He was a king, but he was functioning in his own little kingdom. And then, of course, what did they say at the ending? How did Tiger King end? What happens to a king? A king gets dethroned. All right, well, that's all for me now. That's all I have to say. And if you have anything that you would like to talk about with the Netflix docuseries Tiger King, I would love to hear your comments below, read them rather, and if you like this upload, you can hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed yet, you're welcome to do so, but most importantly, drop some comments below. I want to read your messages. I almost said it again. I want to hear from you, and until next time.